Shout out to Sky Bet for sponsoring today's episode.
With European fixtures and Premier League games too, now is the perfect time to go over to the Sky Bet app and check out everything they've got on offer. Whether you're eyeing a cheeky acca or building a bold one by yourself, Sky Bet have got you covered.
Acca Freeze, Build a Bet, Super Sub, and so much more.
18 plus terms and conditions apply. BeGambleAware.org.
Tell you who else is feeling tetchy at the moment. Me. I am. And that's because every time I look at Manchester United's team sheet and I don't see Kobbie Mainoo on it, a little bit of me dies inside. Manchester United pride themselves on their academy record. The fact that we've always had an academy player in the squad for almost 100 years, I think it is now. The fact that, you know, the Busby Babes, Fergie's fledglings, all that kind of stuff. And then we have one of the best players that's ever come through our academy right now at the club in Kobbie Mainoo. And he sits on the bench every week while we have a stink fest in midfield and continue to drop points at home against one of the worst West Ham teams there's ever been, against 10 men Everton. And Kobbie Mainoo's still on the bench, can't get 5 minutes. Now, a lot of people keep telling me, oh, Adam, you're falling for player power stuff again. No, I'm not. Oh, Adam, they try and say Kobbie Mainoo's got an attitude. What attitude? Also, I'd have an attitude too if I was on the bench continuously watching Manuel Ugarte go onto the pitch while I have to sit there. I think it's not a disgrace. And if we're winning every single game, you know what? Can't say anything because the results are pointing to, you know, the fact that the manager's right. But the manager's so wrong. And I feel like he's digging his heels in even further now. And Kobbie Mainoo wanting to leave, and we're lucky he wants to go on loan and not permanently, by the way, because he loves the club, he wants to stay at Manchester United. But the fact that he thinks he needs to go out on loan to further his career and develop his career. This isn't Dean Henderson who's on the bench because David De Gea's just fucking mustard. This is a player that should be starting week in, week out for Manchester United. And he's not. And he wants to go out on loan. And the teams that are coming in for him or are believed to be in for him, guess what? They're better than Manchester United right now. I genuinely don't get it. He scored and won the FA Cup for us. Phenomenal performance in that. He continues, he's scored great goals for the club. He's been great for England, as you guys will say at the last Euros. And he's still not in the team. And I just think this is a disgrace. And if we would see the back of one of these guys, it's not Kobbie Mainoo I want to see leaving Manchester United, to be totally honest with you.
That's the bit that's weird, isn't it? That's the bit that doesn't ever resonate with me. You know, when we talk about this, I don't understand why, if it becomes a choice between Kobbie Mainoo and Ruben Amorim, I don't understand what Ruben Amorim has done to make anyone think that the manager should be backed over the player. Like, Ruben Amorim has, in my opinion, failed at Manchester United. I feel like he's a terrible manager. I feel like he will not get it right. I feel like he deserves to be sacked. If you sacrifice a player like Kobbie Mainoo for a manager that's proved to us already that he is inept, it would be terrible, terrible stuff. And it feels like it's going really wrong for him. Do you see all the press conferences recently with Ruben Amorim?
He laughed at the suggestion that he should be playing.
Yeah,
which I find mental as well. Like, look, I'm not. I don't. Am I overdoing it with saying how good Kobbie Mainoo is? I think he's fucking class, lads. On the ball, can make time for himself. Great technical ability. Got an eye for a goal as well. All right, maybe you want to see him further up the pitch sometimes, and he's not a defensive midfielder. Of course, he's not. But then put Bruno in the front three and play him.
What would Amorim say right now if he was sat here with us? Would he say, well, if I'm losing 1-0 to Everton, I need a forward-thinking player that goes on. Dorgu is maybe someone who plays left wing back.
He
comes
kind
on.
of suggested that Mainoo wasn't an attacking substitution.
Is his argument, I'm not saying it's the right argument, would he be saying, why would Kobbie Mainoo come on when I've got to actually take a defensive player off or a midfielder player on for a forward player? Is that what he'd say?
But also,
like, what is his rationale?
I'll be honest with you, as soon as Manuel Ugarte went on, every Manchester United fan in the world went, we're drawing this game. I think every time he comes on ahead of him.
So you guys coming on ahead of him?
Yeah, he came on the other day ahead of him.
Crazy.
Kobbie Mainoo shouldn't be on the bench. And I get like, all right, technically he's competing with Bruno Fernandes for that position, right? And Bruno Fernandes, you know, delivers stats unlike anyone else in the league. But then make a system where Kobbie Mainoo can play.
How would you get him in then?
Get one of our play midfield free. Why are we playing three centre-backs against 10 men Everton? And you know what? We've got another young boy at United called JJ Gabriel, who's fucking phenomenal, yeah. I think he's like 16 years old. But he's getting eyed up by Barcelona. Imagine him thinking, should I go Barcelona?
Like, but for the first time in your life...
There's a manager here that doesn't really care about the academy because we've got Kobbie Mainoo who should be playing, doesn't play. Shea Lace is always on the bench, doesn't get to play. We need attacking options. He doesn't put Cheeto Obi on there. Like, on the bench, I'm saying, not starting him.
Yeah.
Like, put him on the bench as an option. Go
But
for
for
it.
the first time ever, maybe certainly in your lifetime, maybe ever, Manchester United, players will want to leave Manchester United now, not just because of the lack of opportunity, but because the project doesn't feel like the project that you want to be part of. All of your life, really, people don't want to leave Manchester United, not unless it's a very particular example. David Beckham wanted to leave for very particular reasons. Cristiano Ronaldo wanted to leave for very particular reasons. But players who were at the very peak of their powers, some of the best who have ever lived, Scholes, Giggs, they were all very happy to stay at the club. There is now a rationale that the young fellas that you mentioned, or even Kobbie Mainoo, could want to leave, not just because of the lack of opportunities, but because the club aren't... If you're not in the Champions League, Kobbie Mainoo should be playing the Champions League, obviously. If you're not in the Champions League, he's going to go to a club that wants to be.
Kobbie Mainoo, though, yeah. He's someone that loves this club. It's why he only wants to go on loan. He wants to play for Man United. Now, maybe if United was still this team in 5 years, maybe he looks for a move. You know, if he's playing for United. But he's one of those players that would be like, I want to be part of this. I want to make this team great again. I want to help this team get somewhere. He's been at United since he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
You know, he's heard the stories about Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt and all these different players. He wants to be them.
It's just if it's getting to the stage now where he's not getting any minutes and Manchester United are mid-table, the two things combined, he's not in the team and he's at a mid-table club, he's just going to go, this is pointless, isn't it? There's nothing keeping him there.
The idea is he goes on loan. And if that's the idea, I wouldn't... He probably thinks, I'll see this manager out. You know what I mean? Like,
And Napoli's
I'll
a
be
great
here
move,
longer than
isn't
him.
it? Napoli, look at Højlund doing well, Scott McTominay doing well, both for Man United. Conte, one of the great managers of world football. And it'll be
He needs to go
beautiful
somewhere
place
where
to
he's
go.
going to start week in, week out.
Yeah.
Though. Like, you know, because you know when you're a lone player as well. I remember I loved Giuseppe Rossi when he was at Man United. And we sent him on loan to Newcastle. And they changed managers. And then once you change a manager, because you're on loan, the new manager might not fancy you, or he wants to get players that are going to be there next season, or he might not have the same outlook. I'm not saying Conte is going to get sacked or anything like that. But you have to be very careful with where you're going to send this player on.
Do you think
loan.
Napoli's the right project?
Well, for me, he's got 10 times the ability of Scott McTominay to go and smash it out there. I genuinely believe, like, Kobbie Mainoo is our best midfield talent that's come through the academy in my lifetime. We bought Paul Pogba from Le Havre. Scholes, he started as a striker, do you know what I mean? So he was never coming through as a midfielder. Darren Fletcher. Kobbie Mainoo's got so much ability, man. So much ability. And people might think I'm overdoing it. Even Paul Scholes says it.
Do you
Do
think it's going to become a question of the player or the manager?
No. I think the manager will lose his job based on results. But if you're not picking your best players, and I believe Kobbie Mainoo's in our top 5 best players, and you got a big
Crazy that he just doesn't. What? Try and do this for me, Ad.
I think he's starting to dig his heels in because he's getting questioned about it. You know what I mean?
I know this isn't how you feel, but just play a game. You know when student unions, they make you argue like different point. You have to like pick a thing.
I used to do it law, yeah.
Argue it from Amarim's point of view. What does
Amarim's
Kobbie
point of
Mainoo
view
lack?
is-
Why would you not pick him? What is he not good at?
I get why Amarim doesn't start him as the defensive midfielder, right? Because in that position, you need to always be an option, always sit there. And Kobbie Mainoo's he likes to move forward. He likes to move on, right? So if you're going to be the defensive-minded, Casemiro's a better choice. I think Ugarte is shite. He can't pass win. But in his mind, Ugarte is probably a better choice as a number 6. As a number 8, Bruno Fernandes starts every week. Understandable, right? So Kobbie Mainoo has to compete with him. But how can you compete with a player that never gets subbed when he's performing badly, never gets rotated, never does any, and then you're only getting 3 or 4... People keep going to me, oh, Kobbie Mainoo's been shit whenever he comes on. Because he's getting 3 or 4 minutes at the end of a game that we're usually chasing or we're being shit in, and then he's got to come on, and now he's got no match fitness because he's hardly playing.
Should you change
He's got
the
no
shape?
confidence.
You know when you said it there, it's going to be Ugarte or Casemiro, and then it's going to be Fernandes, so there's no room for him in this shape. Is he a good enough player where Amarim should amend the shape?
But then you've asked me to argue it from Amarim's position, right? He's never going to change the shape. And then maybe, one of the
Amarim's right
options
then.
is, you've got Kobbie Mainoo there. Look, I think Cunha's been very good for Man United. But maybe you don't sign Cunha, Bruno plays there, and Mainoo can play in the midfield where he's supposed to play. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think he's overlooked his talent so much.
How over the course of the season, Manchester United in this season must have played, 15 games. How, at some point, has Bruno Fernandes not pushed on a bit to allow Kobbie Mainoo in the team? Like, how is that not
I think Cunha's not been in great form. I think he was.
Cunha
when he
was
first
injured
came
as
in.
well.
I know he's been injured, but in the last few weeks, he's not been in great form as well. So it's not like Mbeumo's been great. Sesko's not scoring goals. Got Xerxes starting football. Surely one of those spaces is free in the front three.
Yeah.
It's not like the front three are all clicking. There's no space in the front three.
And
no,
what, push
no
Bruno
space in the
Fernandes
midfield.
forward and allow Mainoo
Kobbie
into the
Mainoo.
side?
One of the two.
Well, could
Kobbie's
Kobbie
good enough
Mainoo
to
play that far forward?
He could play. Wow, his best moments in a Man United shirt have come from that left position up, like close up to the striker.
Playing Mbeumo as a number 9.
Think of his goal against City, his goal against Liverpool, his goal against Wolves. He's not going to start with Xerxes up front, though, is he?
No, but you can play Mbeumo down the middle.
All due respect, I know he doesn't get goals, but his performances haven't been bad considering he's only started 3 games.
It's a mess, though, isn't it?
It's
a real problem.
Shambles.
And do you know what? It's going to be one of those things. You know, sometimes you get a conundrum for a manager when the issue over the player costs the manager their job. Like Ruud Gullit's job at Newcastle was cost because he couldn't rectify the problem he had with Alan Shearer. This is going to cost Amorim his job. Because Manchester United fans who back their manager, they can't back their manager when the manager is doing this.
He's
can back the manager when he's losing games. But
He's not like, you know, like if some players were in his position, they'd start leaking stuff through their agents and complaining and moaning and bitching and all this kind of stuff. He's such a good lad, man. Gets his head down, grafts his bollocks off, gets overlooked by a manager that can't beat fucking West Ham at home. I've had enough. This is the thing. This is the one thing I can't get over with this guy, you know. I can't get over this.